Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Richard Flint, welcome to the conversation today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from the Virginia area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about replacing a search for balance with finding harmony in your life. I really like this idea and this topic. It actually relates really well to the very last interview I did the end of last week, where we talked about much a similar kind of a framing and a way of understanding how we interact with the world that perhaps is a little bit different than I think a lot of people typically think about. We often talk about work-life balance, for example, and that really is the mainstream kind of concept that most people are trying to juggle, and it's really challenging. So we're going to unpack that, explore together why this shift towards harmony might be more effective for most people, and I really look forward to the conversation. As we get started, I wanted to share Richard's bio with everybody. Richard Flint is a powerhouse chairman and CEO of Flint, Inc., a highly sought-after company that specializes in the transformative training and development of individuals, companies, and associations. With over 35 years of experience in the field of human behavior and development, Richard has cemented himself as a renowned keynote speaker and seminar leader who has addressed more than 200,000 people across the globe each year. Richard is a prolific author, having written 19 books and produced more than 100 plus audio and video learning programs, including being a finalist for the top self-help book of 2005. Richard is a media darling and has made appearances on over 100 radio and TV shows, showcasing his exceptional ability to captivate audiences with his knowledge and insights. He also hosts his acclaimed podcast, Let's Talk Human Behavior, where he shares his extensive knowledge and helps listeners unlock their true potential. I love that. And I could go on. There's so many wonderful things about you and your background and your accomplishments. I'm going to pause there. Anything else you would like to share by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in?
John, it's just that I started a crusade 30 plus years ago designed to help people to achieve three things in their life. And I want them to find direction, because I find so many people have no direction for their life. It's like they stand and they look, but they can't find what it is. Mm-hmm. I want them to find knowledge, because without knowledge, you're stuck. And I want them to trust themselves and believe in themselves enough that they'll take the dream that is within them and use it to sustain a life of growth and development.
As we get diving into this topic of harmony and how that might be better suited, for how we approach our path towards growth and continual development, as you just mentioned. Let's talk briefly about balance and why perhaps that can be a challenge and not an effective way to frame up our day-to-day kind of challenges of juggling everything that's going on around us.
John, it was basic about 15 years ago when people were coming to me and asked me, I love what you talk about, but how do I get more of you? So I created a private mentoring program for people, because what I was finding is that people were trapped in a circle of sameness because of the fact that their life was stuck, and it was sort of in pieces around them. And the more and more people came to me, the more and more I understood that what we were teaching people with this concept of work-life balance was really more about disconnect than it was connect. And here's what I came to understand. You and I and everyone who's listening, we live in 4 rooms. And these 4 rooms make up our life. You have your business room, which is the largest room in 99% of people's lives. And the number one disconnect in that room is the mental stress that it places on us. I don't know if you've ever had a day when you finish your day, you're just mentally, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And you're worn out. And especially true today. I'm finding more people today under that pressure than I've ever seen it. You have your family room, which is your number one room of emotional stress. You put people together, and especially in marriage, you find that there's common stresses that are there. Today, it's mostly about finances. It's about trying to figure out what to do with your life and your family ever since COVID, because COVID interrupted things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got a social room, which is the room where you're supposed to go to relax. But what I find today in talking to others is that when they go there, they get off on the work room, they get off on the family room. And rather than relaxing, by the time they finished, they're more exhausted than they were before they started.
Mm.
And then you have your personal room. And this is the room that is missing in 97% of people's lives. The personal room is where you go to be by yourself. If I had a personal room and you came into my personal room, it'd no longer be a personal room, it'd be a social room.
Mm-hmm.
And we all need that time with ourselves. If I'm disconnected in any of the rooms of my life, I'm going to take that disconnect into the other rooms of my life. And so when I got to working with people through my mentoring program, I began to understand this whole concept of balance cannot be obtained.
Mm.
Because it probably your listeners have had this. I have a bad day in my workroom. Things just didn't go right. And I go home and I bring the emotional residue of that room into my family room.
Yeah.
And even though I say I'm not going to do that, because when I'm disconnected or I'm frustrated or disappointed, I live from my emotions up. If I have had a good day and I come home, I live from my mind down. Now, from my emotions up, I create havoc with other people around me because my conversations are driven by my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm living from my mind down, I'm open to listening. If I'm living from my emotions up, I'm open to hearing. And all I'm hearing are the things that's just going to feed my disappointment. For a human life to have harmony in their life, and harmony is where you find that connection between the business, the family, the social, and the personal room. It's where you share three things: a common purpose, which I find in my counseling doesn't exist with a lot of people anymore; a common agenda, where we're all on the same page; and then a common commitment. But John, more than just commitment, it's a common commitment with conviction. This is whom we are. This is what we want. This is what we're working toward. And without that, the stress just travels from room to room to room to room. And I don't know if you see what I see because I travel a lot. But when I'm asked, what do you think is the number one thing people are struggling with today? It's uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that uncertainty is the result of disconnect. And I've seen things on airplanes. I've seen things in airports. I've seen things in business that I never thought that I would see. Because the more stressed I am, the greater my anger. And the greater my anger, the more I react rather than work to resolve. And I work to respond. And I'm seeing this growing, John. I'm seeing it growing at a way that in all my years, I've never seen it happen before. Just the lack of connection in people's lives. And today, balance is not what we're seeking. We should be seeking a sense of harmony where we're together in purpose, agenda, and a commitment with conviction.
And perhaps it's what you said just a minute ago, but this heightened uncertainty that we're experiencing, is that the main reason you feel that this is increasing, this disconnect, the emotional challenges, the stress? Is it that uncertainty that is just pervasive in the world around us, or what do you think are the causes there?
I think it's being caused by the loss of purpose in people's lives. I mean, you're a person who has a purpose. I would imagine that every day you get up and you have a purpose for that day of your life. And that purpose feeds the three most important D's you have to have in your life, because purpose feeds your desire. And what I'm finding today is desire in a lot of people's lives is being questioned. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? It feeds your determination. And determination is my motivation. And it's built around a little saying I have. I can because I will, and I am determined. But uncertainty steals that determination. And then that third D is the discipline. Anything you and I want to do with our life, we have to be disciplined. And can I take this one level deeper with you?
Mm-hmm.
I think in life there are only two foundations that Richard and John can stand on in their life. One foundation is the belief, the trust, and the faith that I have in myself. The other foundation is the doubt, the worry, and the uncertainty that I'm feeling in my life. And I'm seeing people today, John, that used to be really, really strong in their belief, their trust, and their faith in today. And today their life is being rattled. And they're open to doubt, which many of them have never had before. They worry today just because of what's going on from the outside that's putting pressure on them. So when it comes to making a decision, a choice, the foundation you're standing on creates what that decision will be. And what I'm finding today is that the doubt, the worry, and the uncertainty is driving people's lives today. When what is that doing? It's putting more stress on their business room, their family room, their social room. And they've given up on a personal room because every time they go there, they're just filled with so much negative energy in and around their life. And I don't see this letting up, John. In
Yeah.
the work I'm doing and in the counseling, I see it growing.
Well, yeah, I think the uncertainty in the world around us is growing. One of the things I think the pandemic highlighted was not only the volatility of the world, the uncertainty in the world. That's absolutely true, but it really highlighted a lot of the disparities we see throughout the world. It caused a lot of people to question institutions, and I think trust already waning for a lot of younger generations. Having diminished trust in institutions, I think that has spread, to all generations to some extent, more than it was before. I think that's part of it. I think the constant change, the constant disruption that we're all experiencing. Some of it's technologically driven, some of it's social, political, whatever. There are just all these different facets being layered on each other. And I think ultimately people, during the pandemic certainly felt this. And coming out of the pandemic, though, we still recognize that, yeah, like things are more of a mess than perhaps we thought they were. Like maybe we thought we mostly had our stuff together, and it only took a pandemic to demonstrate that no, like things are incredibly messy, incredibly volatile, and things we used to take for granted, things we just kind of assumed were the way they were because they're supposed to be that way. A lot of that has also receded, and gone away, and so the certainty that people held has faded. And in some ways, I think there's some healthy components to that. But like you say, we're all social animals. We all need connection. We all need strong emotional and social connections with those around us. And the pandemic also demonstrated how that was lacking for a lot of people. We have a loneliness epidemic in the world, on and on and on. Like there's all these different things we could unpack and talk about. each of them, I think, contribute to what you're seeing, it's troubling. As a father of 6 children, I want to see my children thrive and be resilient and face the challenges the world is throwing at them. But I also recognize it's harder for them than it was for me, 20 years ago when I was starting out.
You know, you're so right on, John, because the question I get asked so many times when it comes to trust is, what is truth today? Who can you believe? Who's going to talk straight with you? And without trust, there's a crack in our life. I mean, I was doing some promo videos this morning for a group in Asia that I'm going to be speaking for. And one of the things we were talking about in writing the scripts for the videos is, how do we get back to a solid foundation of belief, not only in ourselves, in others?
Mhm.
How do we learn to trust again? People ask me, if trust is broken, can you rebuild it? No, you can repair it, but man, is that a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the faith, then you look out, you don't step out. And when it comes to change, I ask everybody I work with, I demand that they take the word change out of their life.
Mm.
And that change has an emotional attachment to it. And as we begin to understand that change is made up of 3 components, there has to be an ending where I have to let go of yesterday. And what I've seen since COVID, people have ran back to yesterday and they're hiding there. And you have to have an ending. And then you have to have a time of regrouping where you reframe your life. I would imagine your life today is a little different than it was before COVID.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm having to rebuild structures around my life, even in my business. And then once I can start the movement toward improvement through endings, and I slow down, slow my pace down, I take a look at my life from the inside out, I regroup, and I do that around 3 A's. Where do I need to adapt? What adjustments do I need to make? And how do I align all of this with the life so I can continue to move forward? And then when that happens, I'm ready to not have new beginnings, because I've learned over the years in working with behavior, new beginnings becomes 2 words that take us back to yesterday. But what I have to learn to do is to begin anew. How do I start the next chapter in my life? And that's where people are stuck today, John. I spent the last 5 years of my life putting together a leadership program to get people to where they can not stand in their life living from yesterday to today, but how do you learn to live from today to tomorrow? And when I'm fearful and I turn fear into a negative, fear is positive because it can slow you down. But when fear becomes fright, it freezes you in the moment in which you're standing. And there is such a need out there today to help people to pause, to breathe, to reflect, to look at their life, see if they're living from their emotions up or their mind down. And once again, come back and take control of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm wondering, maybe in the time we have remaining, if we can start to think through and talk through what it looks like when people start to work towards harmony instead of balance, when they start to work towards this reconnection with others, embracing, leaning into the uncertainty and the messiness of the world, finding more confidence in themselves so they can navigate that. What does that harmony look like for you? How do we start to achieve it?
John, step number 1, I got to get in peace with myself. I've got to come and look at my life from the inside out, because I bring to others in and around my life who I am in this particular situation. So I got to get back to being Richard. And I find that so many people have lost that. The second thing is, I've got to find a purpose for each room of my life. What's my purpose in business? Family, social. And you do that through my 4 questions of life. What do I really want for my life? Why do I really want this? And then the challenging questions. What price am I willing to pay to achieve this? And then the ultimate question, what behaviors will I have to improve to get me back in harmony? And then as I've gotten myself back to being me, then I can take that person and I can reconnect with the other people in my life. I am finding so many couples today disconnected.
Mm.
I'll tell you, in the last month and a half, I've probably had 20 couples reach out to me that are understanding their disconnect. And the disconnect is because of what's happening in the other parts of their life. They've lost what it is that brought them together in the first place. I believe that every couple is brought together by a something. And that something is what holds you together. And if you lose that something, you lose the purpose of the relationship. And then once we find that, then we have to find out how can we come back to be not one. When I was on the church staff, and when I would do marriage ceremonies, I'd never say to become one. Because if two people become one has to give up something for the other one. But to me, how do we learn to function together? Two people together. And when I can rebuild that, what I'm rebuilding is I'm rebuilding my belief in myself, in my family, in my life. I'm learning to trust in myself and others. I'm learning to have the faith to understand that if I live in doubt, worry, and uncertainty, I punish everybody else around my life. So how do I find that belief, that trust, and that faith in myself, so that every day I can bring value to other people? And if you do that, you no longer look for balance, because you ain't going to balance your life, but you can find harmony.
Yeah, we can chase our tails all we want, trying to find that elusive balance, and it's just not going to happen. And you find yourself at different points, at different life stages, different career stages, different family stages, social stages, all these different rooms, like you talk about. Like, we at different points in time, we have different needs in each of these areas. We have different responsibilities and points of accountability in these different areas. And so trying to continually balance between everything, it sounds nice, but it just adds stress, anxiety, and a constant feeling that I'm not being successful. I'm not achieving. Why am I such a mess? That's what I hear from people all the time. My life is a mess. I'm like, well, I mean, maybe, but everyone's life is a mess. It's not like everyone has all sorts of craziness in their lives. Everyone has hard things. Everyone has good things. And it's not about your life being a mess, but if you feel dragged down each and every day because of that kind of guilt and shame around you not being able to quote unquote balance your life, that's not helping you. That's only making it harder to move forward. So I really like this focus on harmony. You've given us so many really great ideas and strategies on how we can start to develop that. As we start to wrap up today, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, your team, where they can find your books, and then give us a final word on the topic for today.
Okay, there are a couple of ways that people can reach me. If you'd like to reach me personally, it's just richard@richardflint.com. And if I've raised questions within you or something maybe that sparked you that you'd like to maybe go a little deeper with, reach out to me, richard@richardflint.com. I answer every message that's given me. If you're in business right now and your business is struggling, I just released this program I've been working on for 5 years for leadership and for companies and for entrepreneurs. It's called Success House. And there's a website to it, successhouse.co, not COM, but CO, successhouse.co. And then my website is real simple, richardflint.com. And I'm open. I'm open to helping people. What I do, John, is my ministry. What I do is what God put me on this earth to do. And the one thing people will learn about me, you can't throw anything from any area of life at me that I haven't worked through with at least 100 people. And this is my purpose on this earth. And I want to bring as much value and help as I can to people who are at any stage in their life. And if you want to know more about this harmony thing, go to my website, richardflint.com/books. And my book, The Truth About Stress, and my 19 other books that I've written are there. Take a look at them. I might be just one person that can help you with something you thought no one else could help you with.
Yeah. Richard, thank you so much. This has just been a pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Richard can do for you. Check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.